ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Hey, Did You See This One? Okay, I think it did it that time. A thing came up at the bottom of the screen that was like, it's playing sounds. So hopefully we have ourselves a podcast here.
A lost cause.
Hello, and welcome to Hey, Did You See This One?
Oh, hey.
We did a bit of a different intro this time where I botched it completely. But it is Wednesday night. It's the Freeform podcast that everybody tunes into Twitch to watch. My name is Jason. I am gathered as always by Kaylin and Steve, who had to take a quick step away. And
tell him why.
He's peeing.
He's replaced by Chair.
He's replaced by a chair and Snake Plissken. And we have a very, very special guest tonight on the program. Ben from the BS Bargain Bin podcast. Hello, Ben, and welcome.
Hello, thank you. This is going to be something.
This is going to be
definitely
a car
gonna be
crash crashing into an airplane crash. This is going to be your car inexplicably exploding and killing Ernest Borgnine.
And then a wheel rolling down the road, but it's a straight road, so it like just keeps going for a really long time. And then a lady gets hit by a car and it's so bloody. It's just there's so much blood. She had so much blood in her body.
Added scene too. Definitely a necessary added scene.
Awesome. Ben is okay, so last year we did a John Carpenter's month.
We did, yeah.
John Carpenter presents January, and
always presenting things.
I told Ben about this, and he was like, "Well, fuck you. I'm a John Carpenter mark. Didn't you invite me on the show?" And I was like, "Well, the thing is we do it on. I don't even know if we had been doing Zoom
Wednesdays
yet, or Wednesdays.
Oh, might have still been Insta, yeah.
Because I looked at the Zoom account today, and I don't think we started Zoom till May. So it was a very
back when.
It was a very specific situation. But this year, we've had 2 guests already, but you were actually the first guest I asked for this month, because I think this is going to be, I think John Carpenter has enough movies that we're going to be able to do John Carpenter month in January for a couple years anyway.
I maybe need to take this jacket off. It's like so loud.
It's so loud. You're loud.
It's a great idea.
It's
wonderful
like,
idea.
Listen, like
I don't think we can hear that.
That's just me grabbing a water.
Okay. All right. Great. So Psycroat in the chat, I think that Sandra heard the song both times. So thank you. We have an extra special botched intro for Ben this week.
Loving it.
He is here representing the BS Bargain Bin podcast. I will be going over to their show later this month. We're doing a little cross-pollination. And why don't I tell everybody what movie we're doing, since it is John Carpenter's month. I like to call him John Carpenter's. It sounds funny to my brain.
There's 2 of them also.
There are 2 of them. One makes music and one just plays video games all day.
And one makes movies.
So there's 3. There's 3 John Carpenters, and they make up the band The Carpenters, right?
Yeah, definitely. And then movie Multiplicity, everyone thought it was Michael Keaton. It's John Carpenter dressed as Michael Keaton.
Perfect.
They had really good latex. He's just like smoking cigarettes and playing like NBA 2K4.
Just a surly old man, a bunch of them fill in a room, each one progressively slower than the next.
If you couldn't tell, the movie we're doing this week is Escape from New York, the hit movie about a man in an eye patch who's surly, who punches his way through a bunch of demons, yet they don't explore those demons very well.
You summed up Captain Ron
it's also like, you know, an unofficial. No, it's an official prequel to the Metal Gear Solid series. Like, he is Snake Plissken, right? Like, that's what it is, I think.
I'm pretty sure the creator of Metal Gear said he was inspired by him. Yeah.
Oh, he absolutely was.
Or he just stole the character and was like, I'm just going to make this character have other adventures. Like, that's what he did.
And they made him a
which is pretty fucking cool, and he got away with it somehow.
They made him a full-on spy instead of being like an action hero guy too in the games.
But also, like, Kojima would not be where he is now without Snake Plissken.
No,
nowhere. No.
And it's a reboot too because there were 2 Metal Gear games for the NES, and it's a different. That's Big Boss, I believe, is the main character of that game.
Jason, you glitched at the perfect moment where you were like, in the and like just like glitched. Like, it was a perfect glitch. Yeah,
we're glitching here, baby.
It made us seem like Jason is our overlord. He's like a weird digital man.
I am a weird digital man.
He's in charge of us.
Okay. I am in charge of you. I am the host. I am the host with the most. I can boast the most roast. Okay, so at the top of the show, typically what we do is we go around. We say what our history with the movie is. Since we have a guest this week, I'm going to let Steve go first.
Perfect.
Oh, me. This movie I saw when I was a teenager, and I gotta tell you, when I saw it as a teenager, I thought it was boring and stupid. And then I played Metal Gear Solid, and I thought, maybe that movie's good. And then I went back in my 20s to watch it again, and I was like, no, it's still boring and stupid. And then I watched it today, and I was like, yeah, it's still boring and stupid. But it's not terrible. It's just kind of boring and stupid. But like, I like it. But it is boring and stupid. But like, let's move on.
Okay, Jesus Christ. Tell us how you feel. Tell us how you really feel. Ben, I did a little bait and switch, so next up we'll do Kalen.
Hello.
Oh my God, Jason! I feel like I'm gonna come in my shoes somehow.
Yeah, I'm gonna come in your shoes.
I'm gonna come in all your shoes.
No. Where were you holding it before it was in the shoe?
My other shoe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good spot for it. I might have seen this movie. I might have fell asleep to this movie on Netflix if it was ever on Netflix. But the first time I can remember watching it was like a month or two ago.
Somehow that's more rude than what I said.
No, what? Oh,
I may have fallen asleep to this movie.
No, like, it didn't make me fall asleep. It was something that I put on going to sleep. Although I guess that's kind of rude of me not to give it my full attention.
It's the same as saying, what can I put on that I don't give a shit about?
Yeah. Is this movie going to touch my balls when I go to sleep?
What is this music?
To be fair, the music is one of the better parts of this movie.
It is, yes, yeah.
Kalen
it's maybe the best part.
JC saves the day again with the score.
Is that your history?
Well, so I know I first saw it. It was a month or two ago when I bought this and the next one on DVD, and I would call that my first time watching it about a month or so ago, and it has the old school feel that I like. I feel like if it was something that I was nostalgic to, it probably would have had a little more hold over me. But
I gotta say, Kalen, that poster that you got behind you, man, that makes the movie look fucking sick. Like, that is a really good poster. Look at that.
Kind of reminds me of
Twin Towers with the... Yeah, look at that. That's a good poster, man. So good.
And that's my history.
Great. Okay, Ben.
Can I go back to mine for a minute? Because this is actually the first DVD I ever bought.
Oh, really?
What?
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't say that, but like I probably should have. It is the first DVD I ever bought because, like, when I was a teenager, I thought I was hot shit. I thought I could walk into a Blu-ray store and be like, "Hey, everybody, give me," like I would walk around and be like, "I've heard of this movie, and because I've heard of it, it means it's good, so I'll buy it." And that's what I did with this movie. And then I went home and I watched it, and I was like, "Fuck, I should have bought Shrek."
That hurts. That hurts a lot.
Oh my God, that's okay.
I'm excited to talk to you.
This seems like we brought Ben on the show as a prank at this point.
Yeah,
But I will say, he picked the
Sure.
movie. You picked the movie, Ben. I gave you every opportunity to pick whatever you wanted, and now we're doing 2 weeks of Snake
Also, feel
Plissken.
free to come back next week when we do Escape from Los Angeles.
I would definitely do that.
Really? Do it.
Where they realize, like, oh, shooting at night is not a good idea.
I don't know. I thought it worked for this one, but shooting at night with like digital tsunamis going through Los Angeles, probably not the best idea.
Jar Jar Binks style sharks.
We're gonna have some realizations over the next couple weeks about
all right, Jason, who's next?
John Carpenter's ability to make an action movie.
John Carpenter's here?
Sean Carpenter.
Sean
boy JC.
Okay, Ben, Giver, buddy. What's your history with this movie? And also, why don't you tell us why you chose this movie?
Out of all of the other John Carpenter movies, why did you choose this?
Well, this is your second month of Carpenter films.
That's true. Yeah, we did do a couple of good ones last time.
Yeah, and this is another good one that you just don't seem to get, which is fine. I totally understand it. I saw it when I was probably like 10 for the first time, maybe younger, and honestly, I too thought it was very boring. And then I saw it a few years later and just fell in love with it. It's great. And like you were pointing out, Steve, and Kaylin's poster behind him there, everything you see in that poster is in the movie. It does not lie about anything. So I'm confused as to why you love the poster and think the movie is such a pile of shit.
That's a good poster.
Touché. It was touché.
Now, what I'll say to that, Ben, is... You see, the three of us, it sounds like we all watched it much later in life, and you were hit with it.
No. That's
age appropriate wise.
Well, I saw it as a kid too, as well.
Yeah, but you were a kid later years.
Yeah, no, I saw it when I was like 12, like I saw it on like Showcase or whatever when I was a kid, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" I thought it was Mad Max, and I was like, "This is like Mad Max, but not as good."
Okay. What I will say, that's fair, Steve. I think we're gonna have a spirited discussion about this movie.
No. I also love a lot of stuff about this. I think this movie has like so many good attributes that I love. Like I actually think it's brilliant in a million ways, but I also think it's like super boring. It's like watching an old like sword and sorcerer style film, like
watching an old movie from 1980.
It's like watching an old movie. Yeah.
Look,
exactly.
I've gone on record. Ben, did you have any more to add to your history with the film?
Oh no. I'm sure I'll go on at length later.
Okay, great. I think this is a great movie to do because another point of contention with me and John Carpenter I've gone over this at length in the past.
Yeah, Jason always gets in a fight with John Carpenter every time.
He's an old man, dude.
I will knock his
fighting
block
him.
off. No, I don't care for Halloween. The original Halloween. In fact, I liked Halloween 2 so much more. And
it's like
that's
favorite movie of all time.
I know. Yeah. Well, I think you and I have talked about this in person before, and you almost knocked my block off for it. But the thing is like, I'll just start off by saying I love John Carpenter films. I like the ones that bend genre and the ones that mix genres together. And Halloween and Escape from New York, I feel like are hard in their lane. You know what I mean? So Halloween,
we went pretty hard last year with The Mouth of Madness and like
movies that defy genre.
We're like, oh yeah, like Sam Neill, Jurassic Park.
I guess The Mouth of Madness is a horror movie.
Yeah,
but it's also like a thriller, and it's also like suspense, and it's also like weird,
and it's like a detective movie, maybe.
Yeah. But like
good.
Snake Plissken, he's just heading through. He's got a mission. He's doing action shit. He doesn't even do that much action shit. Doesn't fire that gun. Although I will say, that gun, his SMG with the fucking huge barrel and like the sniper, I couldn't take my eyes off.
It's the only thing that got me through the first half. I was like, this is an early mission in the Metal Gear Solid series. Like, this is just an early mission.
And the backdrop.
So we're trading Jason's Final Fantasy crossovers with your now Metal Gear Solid.
I think it's a little bit different because I had to think that way in order to like this movie.
Oh my god.
So rude.
I liked
sacrilege.
So the thing that I like the most, there's no link to Final Fantasy in this one that I found.
I like the movie. I think it's a good movie.
But I think that what was really interesting was that it's very Fallouty. It's very like post-apocalyptic New York.
What about it makes you feel like Fallout?
I was just telling you.
Okay.
The sets are huge and open, and you get a feel for like this vastness. The shots of like Manhattan, like Manhattan's almost like a character in this movie.
It's pretty cool.
I would like to take a second and go back to what Steve was saying about the movie being boring. I can easily see a lot of people not liking this movie. It's when you really get into the making of and listen to like commentary tracks, bonus features on Blu-rays and stuff like that, where you realize how much of a team effort it is and how all of the scenes that look like early CG are just animated.
Yeah.
Oh, the wireframe.
Yeah. And there's so many map paintings. It's crazy. Like the map paintings are beautiful. Like they're so good. And the thing
James
that really
Cameron.
Yeah, and the thing that kind of like sucks about the matte paintings is that they're all like nighttime matte paintings, so you don't really kind of get that punch in the mouth of like a nice like orange sky or something. You know, it's just like it's nighttime.
I don't know if you could set this movie during the day though.
No, they couldn't work. The only parts like later in the movie they start to set it during the day, and like that's when I started to kind of get into it, I think, because the dark lighting in the beginning is kind of confusing. You don't really know where you are, but like maybe that's the point, I guess. Like you're kind of wandering through like a dark city, right?
It is muddled. Yeah, you're right. But it's better than. Did anybody watch the original opening, the deleted scene?
I don't know.
It was where he actually is doing a mission or something. I read about it.
Yeah, it's him and another guy pulling a bank heist.
Oh,
right.
And he gets arrested after his friend is killed by like look like stormtroopers, like the evil police. And that's why they have him in custody at the beginning of the movie. But nobody understood what the hell was happening.
That's way better.
That is way better.
I think
that's
so
almost
too.
necessary. Another thing that I found interesting.
You know what would have been cooler if he was like doing a bounty, like he was like trying to kill a bounty or something.
A thing I found interesting about him getting put in this like island prison is everybody knew who he was, which I feel like. So my biggest problem with this movie, like all joking aside, the movie's fine. It's a well-made film from the early '80s. That I'll give it. When I say that I don't like it, and that's like,
whoa, is this guy rating the movie at the beginning of the rating?
It's not bad. But what I will say, my biggest problem with the movie is that it's like the fleshing out parts of this movie are all in the wrong places. I want to know more about why they all know who Snake is. I want to know more about the mutants that fucking pull people from underground. I want to know more about like the dude with the spiky hair and his like group. Yeah. I want to know more about...
You're 100% correct. And you know what? The thing that really sucks about LA is like that's what they try to do. And then LA sucks because they're doing it. And then everyone's like,
save that for next week.
We miss New York. Like, we thought New York was better. Yeah. But, like, they tried to do everything you just said.
It's definitely a budgetary issue for sure. I think if they gave him a lot more money, you would have seen a lot more of that stuff, Jace. But when you're throwing money at him in, like, for LA, you're trying to pair up with the other movies that are coming out, and that's not what Carpenter should ever try to do.
Yeah, I remember Escape from LA. We'll talk about it next week, obviously, but I remember Escape from LA feeling a lot more like shiny and actiony and like big trailers and like a blockbuster feel. And this one was like, remember that old movie that it's kind of like how I
got it. It's Turtles 2 Secret to the Ooze as is to Turtles 1.
Yeah, and Terminator 1 to Terminator 2.
Oh, Death Wish. Hey, you got a bazooka? I got a bazooka.
No, I see what Kalen's saying. He's not comparing fucking these movies to Ninja Turtles, although Ninja Turtles 1 I think is better than Escape from New York. Sorry.
I agree. I think the Ninja Turtles 1 is the best Ninja Turtles. There's no other Ninja Turtles that will ever compare it to the first one.
The second Michael Bay one does have every character you've ever wanted to see in an action movie. He just failed at it, all of it.
They also had a very good Go Ninja Go remix.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, that was kind of funny. Yeah.
I mean the Michael Bay. Oh yes, okay.
I made that up, and I don't know what you guys are saying.
No, there's a rap song in the Turtles movie.
The new Michael Bay ones.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I know nothing of which you speak.
You didn't see those? Oh my god, they're terrible.
Oh yeah, so I should have seen them.
Casey Jones is played by
he wears the actual Friday the 13th mask, and he kills teenagers.
Will Arnett, for some reason, is that annoying news reporter guy.
The actual
Will Arnett.
Okay.
Megan Fox is April O'Neil, which is both awesome and terrible at the same time. Anyway, rails people. Ben, if I say rails, it means I'm trying to get these guys corralled.
I figured that one out pretty easily.
Yeah. So
telling me that rails means get back on tracks.
Lines.
So the conceit of this movie kind of made me laugh at the beginning. That we get a little like, here's what's going on in the world. For some reason, in the 80s, in 1988, crime doubles 400, quadruples 400%. Is that right? Yeah. So now it's 1997, and apparently something happened where in 97 it becomes a grimdark 80s. It just stays the same. In 1997, we had computers and the internet, and the United States had a Democrat as president, and there was positive change.
Are you talking about
science fiction?
Fair enough.
Right.
Do you have any insight on why this what? It's not.
You have beautiful silver hair. Were you alive in the 80s?
I mean, I think we all were.
No, I hope so.
What year were you
born?
I
was dumb. I was like a little pupa. Pupa.
I was cognizant in the 80s. I remember 1980.
You were cognizant in the 80s?
I was 5 years old in 1990, my guy.
Holy
I think Ben's
shit.
a year older than I am.
I was barely grabbing onto the 90s before I knew my own goddamn name.
That tracks. But what happens to it's not a sci-fi future though. It's not very science fiction-y. It's just like if the presidents just got continuously more dictatory. How does an island
I think the idea is that, like, imagine World War II fucked up, and then they had a World War III, and like that's where we're at. It's like the aftermath of World War III is like what this movie is meant to take place in, which is like a very fun, cool area to play around in, right? Like, you don't have to do a lot of storytelling. It's just like, you know what? Imagine World War II sucked, and then we had a World War III, and it sucked even harder, and now we're all here. Like, that's kind of like what this movie and the movie that comes after, and like all of his, even like his other, like the Prince of Darkness, kind of seems like it takes place in the same world, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like 97 was constantly used in sci-fi films as the distant future. Like, look at The Running Man. But I think with this kind of movie,
why was 97 used though? What was that about?
Probably predictive programming. It's a conspiracy theory.
Oh God.
It begins.
I didn't ask you. But...
That's good. Actually, 1981. This movie was probably written in 79, 80.
76.
I was written. So they had this movie on the. They had lots of time to flesh out these characters, and he said, "No. Instead, we'll have Snake going like this with a gun around rooms for 45 goddamned minutes."
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. You take the lead. You seem to know more than any of us. So go.
well,
Run with it. Yeah.
That's why it's here. Help us.
I think a lot of the worlds that we're seeing in these movies don't really need to be explained, because once you start getting into it and become kind of nitpicky about what happened, what didn't happen, you have a lot of people that just don't agree. Like that couldn't happen. That would never be. And then you've got people that are already fighting a movie they haven't finished watching yet. So just plunk them down in a world with people that you will get to know to an extent. Like Jace was saying, you don't really get to know why everybody knows who Snake Plissken is, but we all know that they're in Manhattan. We know what Manhattan is. We know that it's now a prison. How? We're not really sure. But do we actually need to know that to tell the story? No. Where the story came from is a question I wonder, because there is a book I read, which I actually have right here, called City of Darkness by Ben Bova.
What the fuck? You have that in your hand?
I think that's the first book. That's the first book drop.
It was also written in 76, and let me just read the back. It says, "Tomorrow's New York. The huge Manhattan dome hovers high in the smog. Beneath it, the city lies deserted, its buildings haunted, hollow shells, except for 2 months out of the year. It's Labor Day. Your New York vacation is over, but your money and ID have been stolen. The city gates are closed, locking everybody out until next July, and you are locked in. Now you are a prey to the gangs who emerge from the shadows to fight for the ruins of a once great metropolis. Now you must survive and discover the courage you never thought you had, because that's all you have."
Is this a choose your own adventure?
That's pretty cool.
It sounds like it should be, right? But it's the only kind of land-based sci-fi book that Ben Bova ever wrote. And
well, I know that me and Jason have both watched that Solar Opposites show quite recently, and like that's kind of like what they're doing, right? Like they're doing that. They're doing a.
So I'll give you. I know, Ben. Have you heard of Solar Opposites?
No, I haven't.
So Solar Opposites is Justin Roiland's other project. I think that he started doing it because of the weird like distance between Rick and Morty seasons. And it kind of
is that an animated show?
It's an animated show, and it's on Hulu, and it's hard.
It's on Disney. It's on Disney.
Yeah, but it's from
I
Hulu.
met a guy last week here in Halifax who works on that show. They do a lot of the work.
They do a lot of work in Halifax.
What?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
You could go to like the studio. There's a studio there where they work on it. But this show is so if Rick and Morty a lot of times mashes up a lot of like ideas, but it's usually a lot more like there's like a message. They usually lampoon like one movie at a time. It's a lot more like pointed. Solar Opposites is like the Family Guy of the Rick and Morty universe, where an episode will just be reference. But they have a whole subplot where one of the aliens shrinks people down and puts them in the wall. And what the wall is basically a wall of like terrarias that's like has different.
It's like a giant wall of like you live here now.
Yeah,
you're a tiny person. You live in the wall, and like the wall
little
is like
gerbil pipes.
It's like a city. It's like a city. Of,
you know the mobile game Fallout Shelter?
Yeah,
it's that, but with all these shrunken down people. But
the show is way better in the wall than it is outside the wall. Right?
That actually has the heart.
The wall
and
is like the
lines.
best part of the show. Yeah,
but they only cut to it every
so good.
Few episodes. The arc takes a long time to like get going. But my point is this show or this wall is basically an escape from New York situation, and there's even a character named Hawk Hogan. So it's a great combination between Hawk from this movie and Hulk Hogan from the 80s, who wants you to eat your vitamins and drink your prayers or whatever he said, and then he
rip your shirts.
Said some racist shit and banged Bubba the Love Sponge's wife on camera, and then said the N-word. So Hulk Hogan is
Come
canceled.
with me if you want to live. That's from Predator. No, it's from Terminator. Are you sure?
Casper.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. No, you're wrong. I saw that movie a million times.
That's a line from Like that's the kind of dialogue.
That's the humor.
Yeah.
So it's the show is very dumb compared to like Rick
No,
and Morty,
it's not dumb.
but it's also
very smart and
incredibly
fun. It's very funny.
It's, much
it's very
funnier
good
than Rick and Morty. Anyway, The Wall is basically Escape from
What about Rails?
New York and LA.
Kalen, we're not doing
I'm still referencing this movie. I'm still talking about this movie. But that was the end of that spiel anyway. So Rails, buddies. What do you have to say about that, Ben?
Well, we should probably start
I've
the
been
movie,
schooled.
which is like ding ding, the most amazing music ever. Ding, ding, ding,
So the first
ding,
note I
ding,
made,
ding.
the first note I wrote down was soundtrack immediately good. So
It's fantastic.
I think that's the same thing we wrote for They Live and what else did we do? Prince of Darkness also had a good one. Yeah, like they all
Starman.
He
Starman's
knows
great.
what he's doing. And you know what? I sent it to you guys earlier before we started this. He's still doing it. Like he's doing the same music. He's just like ding, ding, and he's like, you know what? I don't give a fuck. Like I'm an old bitch, and I'll make this music again. And you're like,
He's
is
putting out
fucking
albums
dope.
still. I've got the last 3 he put out. When I was still living in Toronto, saw him in concert, and it was him playing his movie themes and a few tracks from his then new album.
Cool.
He's great at
imagine
what he does.
being in his fucking band. That would be so cool. That would be so cool.
Do you know his band though? It's
I
just
do. It's like
his son and his friends.
Yeah, it's just like pals. You know, like it's just his guys. It's so.
I mean,
good.
it's adjacent to Danny Elfman, I would say. Oingo Boingo.
Why would you say that?
Oingo? Well, I'm going to tell you why I said it. Oingo Boingo. It's mostly because at Coachella last year we got Oingo Boingo playing their hits, and then he would cut to, now the symphony's out, I'm going to play the fucking Simpsons theme. Now the symphony's
He
out.
was at Coachella?
Yeah, he played 2 weekends in a row at Coachella last summer.
Did anyone know who he was?
Yeah, because he played the Batman theme.
Kalen,
They were like,
a lot of
he's
people know who Danny Elfman is.
They-
Fuck.
But isn't Coachella a bunch of young kids?
Yeah,
Isn't
but
Coachella just
Not
like
anymore.
a bunch of people who
Coachella
don't know who
has
Danny
grown up.
Elfman is?
People have grown up with Coachella who were around for these things. You know what I mean? So people knew who he was. There was probably people there who was like, "Why is this guy playing the Simpsons theme?" And some
and
old
there were
head
also
was
people
like,
being like,
because he
"This
wrote it,
is
idiot."
Halloween, Halloween,
Yeah.
Halloween.
Which was great on a giant stage. I wish I was there for that. I don't wish I was there for many other people at Coachella, which is a good point, Kalen, because most of the rest of it, like we
This is
call
one
it.
of the reasons I wanted to do that fucking Leica House shit, because Henry Selick movies are amazing. We should have just done.
Was that the stop motion? month that
Yes,
we were
it's
talking
the
about?
puppet movies.
We have a whole year.
got
my
plenty
guy.
of months ahead of
Yes.
us.
Yeah.
We've
They're
got a
so
whole
good.
year, my
They're so
guy.
good.
Ben can,
That's true,
Ben can
yeah,
listen to
okay.
us argue later.
So, do you guys know that Kurt Russell has a son named Barf Russell, and he's also an actor?
Yeah, he played American Soldier or whatever. American
Did you say
Agent.
Barf?
I
No,
did.
his
I
name
couldn't
is-
remember his name.
His
Name's
name is
Bob.
like,
His name's Wyatt.
yeah, Wyatt.
Yeah, Wyatt,
And he's
yeah.
Goldie Hawn and
I thought his name was Boston.
I think that Kurt Russell is way more handsome than his son.
Wyatt Russell has kind of got a weird look.
Yeah, he looks like his hair is like attached to the
His head.
upstairs.
But he was the perfect U.S. agent to be the opposite of Chris Evans on Falcon and Winter Soldier. I thought that was really good casting, and I can't wait for Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
He
was
was the
also like a
strong
very
part.
good like, I'm a white man, look at me, I'm a white, and like he got beat up by that. Which
Steve, I can't see your face.
What?
I can't see Steve's face.
Why not?
Oh no! Oh,
Open your eyes, Kalen.
This is my favorite part of the show, where Steve tries to kiss.
where Steve
imaginary
kisses
Kurt.
Kurt Russell's dad.
Ben, sorry, you were about to say something there. Did you want to?
I really liked his episode of Black Mirror. Thought he was pretty good in that.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
VR
that
one.
guy.
Yeah.
Is it playtest?
Guys, we don't need to focus on nepotism. Come
That
on,
guy's
let's get out of
hilarious.
here.
Which episode was it? I'm just before we move on here. Which
the one with the VR or whatever.
Yeah,
the
playtest.
VR horror game.
That episode is the most fucked up episode because it's just a waking nightmare.
right,
Ben was like,
Ben.
I can't be a part of this. This is bad for our image.
No,
Buck
I think
Flowers.
Ben might know. Ben, do you know Buck Flower?
Yes.
Yeah. So he's in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
He's got
fucking guys had to look it up. The fucking
No,
perverts.
he's got the president's bracelet on.
How did he get his bracelet? Isn't it? I thought it was like a locked thing or something.
Sci-fi.
Or was it just like a strap?
I don't have the answers for you
Yeah,
there,
They
man.
used science fiction. Just
You
like in
watch
Solar
Starman, you watch They Live, and then you watch this, and you're like, Buck Flowers and all of it, and you're like, oh man, he's one of those guys. He's one of John Carpenter's guys. He just brings them in.
Yeah, like honestly, John Carpenter definitely had a stable of people who would use.
Yeah.
Like Flowers for sure. Kurt Russell, obviously, from like like everything Carpenter does, pretty much.
Oh.
The opening narrator is Jamie Lee Curtis for this movie.
I was gonna say, shout out to Jamie Lee Curtis for giving her voice.
Tom Atkins. I mean, both.
Is Tom Atkins Hawk?
No, that's Lee Van Cleef from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Okay, he looks super familiar.
Yeah. Both.
He's the guy who
and
looks like
Russell's
he's from a
first
Western
wives
movie,
are in the
but he's
movie.
like, why am I in this movie?
That's
why
why
am I here?
That's why Kurt Russell talks the way he does, because he wanted to play off of Lee Van Cleef, so he tried to do it as Clint Eastwood.
Oh god. Kurt,
I like the
take
snake,
a breather, would you?
I like the Snake Plissken thing too. This is like
Definitely
early.
Gogurt.
This is early in Kurt Russell's career too. Like he's going for something. I'm a person who watches movies, and I like acting choices. There was more to that, Kalen. God damn it.
That's my main issue with this movie is that
I was gonna say
nobody is
watch this
making
movie
any
in
fucking
10-minute
choices.
intervals.
No, I watched this movie today, okay? I watched it. See, Ben, these guys give me a hard time because I'm a television guy. I watch TV. My brain only...
That's why we give him a hard time. He's a television guy.
I'm a
This
television
guy doesn't
guy.
know how to watch movies.
I watch a
doesn't
lot
understand.
of movies in small chunks. For instance, I've been watching The Beach today in small chunks.
With Leo?
Yeah, 10-minute chunks of the beach. I want to know what's on that island. I want to know what that. I've watched it 3 different times today. They're only about to get eaten by sharks or whatever the fuck's about to happen.
It's probably the best way to watch that movie.
It's okay. Anyway, my point is a lot of old movies especially. I need to like if I'm either gonna watch it and hate it the whole time, or I'm gonna consume it the way that makes sense in my head. And I'm going to get more out of it. And that's just the way it is.
And what did you do today, Jason?
I watched this movie all the way through.
Oh.
Just...
How do you feel about that?
You know, I was jumping out of my skin a little bit at times, if I'm being honest.
Did you look at your phone?
I paused it.
He did look at his phone.
Took breaks from his phone to look at the TV.
Look, my point is I'm doing my best and I'm trying. Before 2020, I watched like only MCU and comedies, and now I've seen.
Yeah, you only ever watched a movie with a wrestler in it.
No, that's not true.
That covers this movie.
That's true, because Ox Baker is in this movie, and he's awesome, and that's the best part of the movie when they have an epic battle with Fallout weapons.
Yeah, I guess they are Fallout weapons.
All the weapons in this are Fallout weapons. Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 4, I think, are heavily inspired, have heavy inspiration from this.
Yeah.
It's got computer graphics that aren't even really computer graphics. It's like it's a model with like painted lines.
The flow of the movie, it does flow, and you can't just stop in certain areas of the movie and have a scene. I find when they do stop, like when they meet Brain and stuff like that, that's when you can see the movie really start to drag. So just from the start of this movie, they should hit the ground running, or the roof of the World Trade Center rolling, sliding. Anyway, as soon as it gets to ground level, just get the story going, because it is pretty bare bones for an hour and a half long movie. Not a lot happens. So to keep interest, just don't stop. Don't let people rest. Just get through the entire plot roll the credits, and we'll move on to Escape from LA.
That's why I keep going back to like it's big.
We gotta see Bruce Campbell in this bitch.
The sets are big and open, and they look really detailed. But if you just have one person slowly moving around in it, I feel like John Carpenter was off to the side with his director thing, being like, okay, just move around, just walk around a little bit. We gotta fill 10 minutes. We'll cut it down to 8. That's what it felt like.
What did he make after this?
The Thing. The Thing came out the year after this.
The Thing? Oh God. That's what he was thinking about.
He's like, oh man.
He's like, I'm going to make the best movie ever made.
Kurt, let's fool him with this one.
Kurt, just everybody shut up. We'll make this and then next year, Kurt.
We need the money from this to make
we got
thing
Keith
better.
Fucking David coming in. He's like,
the studio wanted to pass up on Kurt, from what I was reading, which I couldn't see this with anyone else but him.
This movie.
Yeah.
Do you know who they had in mind?
Who was it? Yes, but I can't remember right now. Bet.
Yeah, I knew this earlier. God.
Someone old.
It didn't work. Yeah, it was Charles Bronson.
Yeah, that was yeah.
Look, for what it's worth, this movie would be completely, if this was just another Death Wish movie, but like sci-fi Death Wish.
It's pretty much Death Wish 3.
It is already Death Wish. It's basically Death Wish. Have you seen Death Wish?
I don't think I've actually watched the whole Death Wish, but I get the conceit.
The Bruce Willis classic
or whatever.
I get the conceit of what John Deathwish wants to do. He's getting revenge for his wife's murder or his son's murder.
All right,
listen. I want to talk about the only real gore in this movie, which was a pretty interesting special effect. So he's trying to get away from some goobs, and this guy sticks his hand through, and he blows it off. I think it's the only time a gunshot has gone off up to this point. Yeah. But the special effect for it was really neat, I thought. Really neat.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't really have that much of a budget, so if you're going to get a decent-looking shot, it's going to funnel a lot of your money, so be committed to it, and they were. It looked really good.
Fill a glove up with ham and blood and shoot that fucker all over the wall.
Nice. Yeah.
Speaking of special effects, Ben, you were saying that the moment with Maggie, where after she gets hit by the car, and they show her on the ground, and there's just so much blood.
Yeah.
You said that was a shot that they didn't intend on doing.
No, they added it in. They shot that after primary photography. It was that shot is from John Carpenter's garage.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they had time to set it up and make it look exactly how they wanted it to, but there was so much blood.
Just stacked a bunch of barrels and like got half a car, and then we lay under this car.
No, they
and
actually
then they pour...
like put the car on her.
Yeah, there's pour.
Stole a cab.
Roll a cab over her, and then just pour all the leftover blood from Halloween 2.
Basically, yeah.
That he probably had in a vat next to the barrel. It was probably in the barrel in the background. It was cohesive, like it worked.
You don't keep extra fake blood around your house?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. He just glances down at a vat of it.
This episode brought to you by fake blood.
Blood vats.
Is it Arizona?
Yes. I'm drinking a tiny
Arizona went up. It's like $1.30 now.
Yeah,
those bastards.
They put a sticker over it sometimes.
It's because they put blood in it.
It's mostly blood.
How do you guys feel about a cobra tattoo on your belly?
See, that's another thing I wanted to talk about. It's a little bit
talk about it.
A little bit interesting. I was wondering if it's representative of him having a massive dong, or if it's just supposed to be badass. Is the snake coming from his...
Is it a question mark? Cool. Is it like, oh, what's down here?
Well, how about Kaylin? What do you think about having a giant snake tattoo on your belly? What do you think that means to you?
I mean, I think I would be cooler if I had it on my arm.
Well, there we go.
If you had Under Armour that had 2 zips on it and you zipped it open to reveal snakes right here, it's interesting that the president has so much to do in this movie, because typically the president's useless, and he is mostly useless. But it's neat that we just cut to a fucking Air Force One getting hijacked.
Yeah,
which
immediately, and by like rollerblade gangs. Like, how the fuck does that happen?
But no, you'd think that would be the one plane that would never be hijacked. So it's interesting. That's how we kind of start out. I hate the little red escape egg.
It's so weird. That's like the most sci-fi thing about the whole movie.
What do you hate about it? The color, or
it's an egg?
There's no fucking seat in it. It's just a padded room that's gonna slam into the ground and kill the man.
They just stuff this surly fatman into this egg, which they also put a tracker on him, so they're watching this plane crash into it crashes into one of the World Trade Centers, right?
Not that one. I don't think so.
Okay, anyway, it crashes into a building in New York, then we watch it go down, and then the wreckage of it is outside, even though we clearly see it like go into a building
inside.
Which is fine, whatever. It probably cost a lot of money to even make that like computer image, or that I don't even know.
That was also
John
animated.
Carpenter was bleeding from his nose. He's like, I'm seeing the future.
In the future, we're gonna have wireframes, and it's like, no, sir, we have that now, and also it's the most expensive thing that we can do. Besides that hand, we're gonna blow off later. It's filled with ham.
I would like to say Donald Pleasence as the president.
Yeah,
him trying to put on an American accent makes him sound even more British.
Yeah.
Completely.
All I was thinking was from the Halloween movies where he's like, we shot him 5 times. He's been shot 5 times. It's really good. Why are you alive?
Well, he's not anymore.
No, and he had to be there to be the guy that knows everything about the soothsayers and the fucking ancient texts.
I did like when he shot that guy at the end. He's like, "Yeah, the one who's dead."
That guy. No, I was talking about this. He gets the final kill. Snake gets no glory. Yeah. He just escapes himself, and with the president's standing on the wall, and he ends up killing the Duke. The Duke is another character in Solar Opposites. That's a reference to this. He's like the first big bad in the wall, and he's voiced by Alfred Molina. Interestingly enough, it's a pretty big get for a fucking streaming service animated show.
I have a question. I'm not sure if I missed it or something, but at the beginning, he's adamant about them calling him Snake, and at the end, he's like, "Call me Plissken," and I didn't get it.
I'm right there with you.
Here's my theory about that. I think that he just didn't want to do what the guy, like, so he told him to call him Snake.
He's just a rebel.
And then
he's just going to disagree to whatever.
And he was like, "Call me Plissken," because he just didn't want to do anything that guy.
It's all about him going against what the guy wants, like calling him Snake. He's like, "Call me Plissken." He's like, "All right, Plissken, fuck, call me Snake."
Call me Snake. Something I did enjoy about this is the movie does get to the point very fast. We only get a little bit of like world building before it's like, we're sending Snake on a mission, and they could have easily done the thing where we don't see him in New York for like 45 minutes. It's kind of offset with him, just like I said, sneaking around Manhattan.
Yeah.
But I do like when a movie gets to, we have a term on the show that I coined called the Home Alone of it. And it's essentially, in the movie Home Alone, the best part of the movie obviously is when he starts making the traps, and that's sort of when the
Home Alone starts. That's when Home Alone becomes Home Alone.
And a lot of movies have a solid half hour of just like people saying things to each other until the thing.
Jason, I gotta say that's maybe the best thing in this podcast, is that is a thing. That's the best thing.
Thank you.
The Home Alone of it all? Yeah, that's the best. That's the best thing.
Because it's the easiest to relate.
I've never heard it before anywhere else. I've never heard it on another podcast. I think that's
I can't tell if he's being sarcastic.
I think that's a really good thing.
No, I can tell when he's being sarcastic and when he's not. If he didn't like it, he would just say he doesn't like it.
Yeah, Kaylin, fuck you. That's good.
Was that sarcasm?
Yes, that was sarcasm.
Yes. No.
But this movie, it's the movie is called Escape from New York. They say this is New York. There's a wall around it, and then Snake is escaping from New York.
No movie title shout out though.
Weirdly, you would think that somebody would be like, Snake, you gotta escape from New York, and then look right at the camera.
We tried 4 times, but this New York, it's impenetrable.
Okay, that was good. Impenetrable. I also think it's funny that Snake's last name is Plissken. Does anybody ever think about that?
Yeah, well, me and Snake, we've been friends for a while.
Oh, is that what you mean?
I saw it earlier.
Why don't you give old Curdy a little smooch, Steve?
This movie gave me hope for a live action Dragon Ball movie with that crazy guy.
This movie gave you hope for that? Why?
That Super Saiyan hair was dope.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Romero is the character's name.
I feel like that Romero.
Yeah.
Excuse me. That Romero character's been referenced before, but I can't remember where I've seen that guy, like that character before. I feel like I've seen that his little like sniveling face with the spiky hair. I don't know if it's in a video game.
Was he in the first Fright Night movie? He wasn't the kid that turned into a werewolf in the first Fright Night, was he?
Evil Ed? No.
Okay.
He also reminds me of the guy in the walls in People Under the Stairs.
It's interesting that there were people in the walls in a movie titled The People Under the Stairs.
Well, you can't have stairs without walls.
That's true.
There were people under the stairs too.
There were lots of people under the stairs, but there were also people in the walls. Yeah,
too many people in that house, if you ask me. The problem with this movie, as in so much,
wait, there's a problem with this movie?
As far as talking about it, feel like I'm hitting a wall with the things that happen. The plot just like there's a giant chunk of this movie before they get to town hall where it's literally just him going and looking at just looking around. There's a really neat scene, I will say, where he goes into like a diner. He like ducks out of the way because the mutants are coming or whatever. He ducks into a diner, and then they introduce this woman character who you think he's totally gonna 80s style bang, and they got a real big sex tension, and then she gets just taken. She just gets taken away. We never see her again. What the fuck?
They were married at that time.
Okay, so it's like get this wife in the movie. She's gonna be a star.
I mean, I thought she was great in that scene though.
That's true. They did actually have pretty good like chemistry.
Yeah.
I thought she was gonna come back later. Snake had 2 opportunities to fuck. It was her, and also there was a little bit of tension between him and Maggie.
Definitely.
But Brain was like his buddy from the old days, and they kind of just quell that by showing that Maggie really loves Brain, like really likes Brain a lot.
Maggie was super distracting for me.
Why, Kaylin? Because she was
a nice dress.
She was a 70s nudie mag artist, we'll say.
Is that that's Carpenter's missus, wasn't it?
Yeah. They were married at that time too.
Nice work, John Carpenter.
And
the funny thing is, if you listen to the commentary track on the recent Blu-ray, Kurt Russell brings up like you can see the sexual tension and chemistry between Snake and Maggie, and Carpenter's like, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, wait, what? Hold on.
That's not how I wrote that, but my muse is gonna bang my other muse. I don't like it. Don't like it.
I want to be someone's muse.
You're my muse, Kaylin.
Oh, he stole it.
Every week of the week.
I'm his other muse, which means we have to fuck. Think.
Okay, I guess we're doing this. For the audio
I have
listeners,
really good.
I wish you had shoulder zippers right now.
Yeah.
I guess we're doing this. So Steve thinks that So Steve told me earlier that he thinks that Snake Plissken is lame, which I heavily disagree with.
Yeah.
I wrote he's so fucking cool, because I think that Snake Plissken is cool as fuck.
Yeah.
I think he's the prototype
agree.
for that cool action star. Before this, who was an action, like, who was that prototypical, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Arnold
Action
Schwarzenegger was.
Is this one of the first anti-hero movies?
I think Death Wish.
Yeah,
Oh,
Death
yeah,
Wish.
yeah.
But
Shaft.
that was like Vigilante.
Bazookas and guns.
Shaft was in this movie.
It's early on though, Kalen. You're right. It's early on in film. This would be one of the first, I think, of like the big. Not Hollywood, but yeah, notable. Perfect. Yeah.
I think that's a good point. I think Snake Plissken creates that new line of antihero, like a different kind of antihero where you get like Venom and Wolverine, those kinds of like, I'm so cool in 80s.
Yeah.
I got a leather jacket.
And I'm wisecracking and I'm going to fight the leader of the group and bang his wife.
No,
I really enjoyed Ernest Borgnine's portrayal of the cabbie in this movie. He was a ray of sunshine in a horrible, bleak, post-apocalyptic era.
yeah, he seemed like a weird child where he's like, I'm an old man, but also I'm 5.
Ironically,
like, okay.
he's one of the only people in this movie that actually talks like this. Hey, Snake, how you doing, buddy? Let's go party.
He's the one part of the movie that I actually hate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't stand Cabby. And I think it's just Ernest Borgnine being himself. I don't know if he's actually playing a character. He just responds to a different name. Like, it's like, we'll give you a car, just drive around, try and be here around this time. You're going to see a guy with an eye patch. Listen to what he says, and we're going to film it.
So you...
can I get a sandwich today or tomorrow, maybe?
So your theory is that Ernest Borgnine doesn't know it's a movie.
He had no idea where his millions of dollars ever came from. He just checked his
like,
bank
wow,
account. He's
New
like,
York
all
has
right.
really gone downhill.
I knew
So,
that headline.
can I get a couple
Thing.
macaroni and cheeses?
In 1981, that's exactly what New York looked like.
Yeah. Well, that's funny too, because there is a bit of a political slant to it. New York in 1981 was a fucking hellscape.
Yeah.
Times Square just filled with like drugs and prostitutes and
crime.
strip clubs and crime.
Yeah.
It's not like you go to, up until like the early 90s even, you go to Times Square and it was a haven for crime. And if you take a trip to Manhattan now, it's like a tourist trap, and it's sterile, and it's not sterile. It's still New York. Still smells like, has a smell.
It's also still filled with drugs and crime.
That's true. It just has a better facade. The lights are so bright. The lights are so bright that you can't see all the.
They sell sneakers there now.
Yeah,
They
Put another coat of paint over it.
In 81, if you're going to like Times Square, you're going to New York, you're going to like 42nd Street, to the Grindhouse Cinemas, there's a good chance you're getting robbed either on your way there or back.
Yeah.
Just gangs everywhere. Someone's going to shortchange you at the theater. God knows what you're going to step on and get punctured with. But yeah, it's a bad scene. Yeah, we'll go with a knife, sure.
Yeah. Not a crack needle.
I think.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it was definitely a commentary on New York at the time, and setting it in the future, showing that it's only going to get worse, is an interesting statement.
Because you start the movie and it's already in the future. It's like the year in 1988, crime quadruples, and I'm like, so is this from
You're like, I already doubled it. What do you mean quadrupled? What the fuck?
But it's like. It's 1981 and you're already talking about 88, but then it's 87. You know what I mean?
97.
Or 97.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
I don't like it either. Jason, I don't like it either. It doesn't make any goddamn sense.
I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm just saying like they really had a view of what's notable about 1981. The Vietnam was over for years. The 70s was like a boring time in history where nothing really happened. There was no technology What?
Would have been.
Didn't shit happen in the 70s?
What happened in the 70s that's notable? Besides,
I don't know, like cool clothes and stuff, and like
yeah,
Vietnam
but it was
Wars,
boring. Vietnam was the 60s. The Gulf
Crazy
War
wild
hadn't
clothes are
started. I guess in 81 the Iron Curtain is now down, or
that's
even before
89.
that. Yeah, that's like a decade away. I think I think sci-fi people were just like, it's kind of like the late 90s where everybody's like, everything's going to be okay forever. And then 9/11 happened. It's been a spiral for the last 21 years of hatred. We're back in a pseudo 80s now.
If you're talking science fiction though, like how people are going to movies, I don't know how this movie ever survived coming out a year after Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
I just don't. And I think that's kind of why it became a cult classic and not an instant classic.
It's different. It's very grounded. The sci-fi is very subtle. Like, what year did that Sean Connery movie we did come out? That's like around this time, isn't it? Outland.
We haven't talked about the Duke, really. The great Isaac Hayes, as Jason said. Yes. What to say about this? I don't know how he came to power to basically rule Manhattan Island. And then, like I said, there are certain stories that we shouldn't try to sort out or investigate or have told to us because we don't need to. I think that could have been a standalone movie, because I'd be much more interested in seeing the Duke's history, what got him arrested, and how he came to power. I was just thinking that it would be cool to have like a side story for the Duke specifically, because he's the big bad of the movie outside of the government, I guess. And he's not intimidating.
Got the impression from the Duke that like people feared him. People had a fear for him because he had an entourage. And in those situations, in these kinds of movies, a lot of time there's just somebody kind of appointed the leader. And he probably
takes the reins, and then everyone else listens.
Exactly.
So kind of like the Warriors.
Yeah. Yes. The Duke sort of had that air of mystery about him. I wanted to also know more about the Duke, but it's almost good that there's just an appointed leader. That way you can have that fear of somebody always watching. He rolls up in like a crew of these souped up K cars, essentially. Like one of them, one of them is like has like a low ride to it where the wheels are big in the back, which I thought was a neat thing. His main car. And it's a scary crew, and obviously it's Isaac Hayes, and he's also incredibly unhinged. There's a scene in this movie where they have the president tied to the wall, and he's just taking pot shots at him with Snake's like cobbled together weapon. Incredibly dangerous stuff.
My apologies to the great Isaac Hayes, but what was he known for up to this point? Or was he? Shaft?
Several Shaft movies, yeah.
Nice.
He was in 1, 2, 3 Shafts.
And then the Shaft 2000.
There was another Shaft.
Yeah. Shaft 2000 starring Samuel L. Jackson as son of Shaft. And then there's that newer Shaft movie where there was 3 Shafts. There was old Shaft and Samuel L. Shaft and young Shaft.
I got shafted.
By its too many Shaft movies.
It's also sad that he's going to be best well known as Chef.
Yeah, and also well, we all know what happened.
Being crazy.
Being a crazy Scientologist who couldn't take a joke and left South Park, so they killed him.
Is Scientology still a thing? I feel like I don't hear about them anymore. Where's Tom Cruise at?
Kalen, I would like to reduce your amount of talking about Scientology because I am scared you might accidentally be a part of them.
Part of them, or evoke them? What are you more afraid of?
Yeah, like it'll come up, or he will be one.
The cab got split in half. That was pretty cool.
I don't know. That was way too clean for an explosion.
It was pretty clean cut, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about that explosion? Came right after a high-speed chase. Officially making this a movie and not a film. Ben, I have a thing that...
Interesting.
I have a theory. I have a film theory about the difference between a film and a movie.
I would recommend you don't listen to this.
It's yet another thing that Steve hates that I say.
It's a terrible thing that he says, and it's bad.
See, I told you. See, if he doesn't like something, he won't be sarcastic about it. He'll just straight up say that he hates it. Yeah. But I posit that a film migrates into a movie if there's a chase and an explosion. It doesn't have to be chase then explosion, but if there's a high-speed chase and an explosion in a
what's
film.
What's going on with his face? Again. He's
Max Headroom. Look, I've made him malfunction with my theories.
That was awesome.
So that was perfect.
That's our new editing program, folks. Our viewers out there.
I'm live editing this show. There's not a whole lot more to talk about. So if you guys want to just go into final thoughts, we can do that.
Well, yeah. Before we do, I'd like Ben to take the reins and unload any thoughts and whatnot before we get into final thoughts.
You would love to know my thoughts before we get into final thoughts?
No, pre-final thoughts.
Like if you have any other anecdotes or insights or feelings you had for this movie.
Yeah, honestly, I think this gave birth to an iconic character of Snake Plissken. Whether or not it's the actual Snake Plissken character, and I glitched out again.
That's fine.
You glitched out again.
I want to glitch out.
Sorry, I don't know what's happening with this camera. But we've seen different representations of him, like we've said before, in Metal Gear, in other games as well. But also, he's such a cultural icon. We see him in TV shows, references in movies, even a story like when I was living in Toronto, I met a guy who worked for the province, specifically dealt with things like when people built fences that were against regulations and zoning. And he got a call about a fence in Northern Ontario that people had put up and their neighbors complained about it. So he goes to the house. It's a cottage for Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell.
Cool.
And Goldie answers and he's explaining what's happening. Kurt walks by, he's listening for a little bit, and then he's like nodding along, goes upstairs, comes back downstairs wearing the Snake Plissken costume.
Nice.
But like that was from, I think, Escape from LA, this costume would have been. And he's
way more leather.
He is not fit anymore. So it's like his guts hanging out. He's got the patch on. He's trying to talk like Snake, but he's still laughing at himself. And I didn't believe the guy at all. Like, that's a great story. He's like, no, check this out. And he whips out his phone and shows me a selfie he took with them. And like, nice. It's just, I think Kurt Russell brings a specific magic to the characters he plays. Last week on Bargain Bin, we talked Tango and Cash, and that movie wouldn't be nearly as good with anybody replacing Kurt Russell. Mm-hmm. So the fact that he plays this iconic character, one we haven't really seen before, and not only does he play him once, but twice. And even though Escape from LA, I know you guys will talk about it soon, my opinion being, it's not good, guys.
I know.
But Snake is still enjoyable. Like it's a character that works in whatever setting you put him in. Steve, right. don't take that the wrong way.
Hey, what? You know what? I'll
let it slide.
Yeah.
I'll quote some freeze for you later. But I don't know. I really enjoyed the movie. It was great for its time. I know it doesn't hold up. Unless you look at it with a nostalgic eye. I would actually like to see a remake, but it would have to be done with Carpenter's supervision because you could fuck that up.
It can't be a fucking The Rock or whatever.
It can't be a money grab remake.
I've seen mock-ups and rumors of stuff of having Hemsworth be him, and I think that would be fine.
I've seen mock-ups of Kurt's son Wyatt.
I think that would be fun.
Yeah, I thought I saw an image of some or heard some about that. Yeah.
The question there is, well, it doesn't really matter if you have the acting chops or not because he doesn't really emote.
No.
So, I'm down. I'm down. Of course, Carpenter would have to do the music though.
Yeah.
Steve, I think you were saying how we were joking around about this. It'd be interesting to somehow have a movie where Big Trouble in Little China, the sequel, has Snake Plissken in it somehow.
Well, I thought it would be so funny if like those stupid ass fucking Santa Claus movies, if like he was like on his sleigh or whatever, and he gets hit by the pork chop express, and then fucking, hey, well, I just ran over Santa Claus over here, and he's fucking dead, and I gotta fucking bang it back and fucking bang.
Here's a thought.
Yeah.
Big Trouble in Little China, wonderful movie, especially because Jack Burton thinks he's the hero, but he's not. He's the sidekick.
Yeah.
I would love to see an Escape from movie.
Little China.
Sure.
I thought it would be interesting to do Escape from Tokyo. I know China and Japan are different places. No, but it's a major metropolitan city on an island, and I think separate Big Trouble in Little China from this whole equation right now. I think a modern day sequel where it's Snake Plissken's son, and he's got in with like the Yakuza, but they've quarantined off like Japan essentially, or even just Tokyo. It's still an island. I don't know. Needs some work. I just like the Japanese aesthetic.
You know what? I think that like Big Trouble is better than Escape from in every way. Like it's always better.
Yeah.
Two very different movies.
They're very different. And as an adult, I went back and actually asked my dad. I was like, why didn't you show this movie to me as a kid? If I would have put that with the Ninja Turtles and the Ghostbusters, because it's so like, it's not super
It's a
violent.
Ghostbuster movie.
Yeah, it's not super violent.
Yeah.
It's not. There's not a lot of swearing. There's no sex. It's very much like not a kids movie, but a movie you watch with like your family or your.
Because your dad probably got horny when he watched it, and he's like, "Oops, I got way too horny. I can't show this to my boy."
I've got two movies to ask all of you about. Lockout and Ghosts of Mars.
Ooh,
Ghosts of Mars is my pick for the end of the month.
Yeah, that's your.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing Ghosts of Mars next.
I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen it yet?
Yeah,
I've never seen it either.
Definitely research its history.
Okay.
Specifically because of what we've been talking about for the last while.
I think you're about to say something though about you wanted to see Snake Plissken, and then things.
Yeah, no, I'd like to see him in another movie where he's the sidekick, where he's not the lead. Give somebody else a chance to become like an action icon, and let them be built up by having Snake Plissken associated with them. But
we get The Rock, and The Rock is the main character.
You leave The Rock out of my Carpenter movies. But Lockout, and nobody here has seen Lockout.
I'm kind of like intrigued by Kaylin's choice of Ghosts of Mars, because like that movie.
I thought you said you saw it. You saw it?
I've seen it, and it blows a huge dick. It sucks, but.
So this whole
I'm excited to watch it. Like
these
I haven't watched it in so many years. Like
this whole month is Steve's pick of Starman, and then the rest of it blows shit right
Starman
now.
was good though. You guys liked Starman.
I liked Starman a lot. I liked Starman better than this movie. I'll tell you that. But it's different. It's a completely different thing. It's a romantic comedy travel. Like that's what I was saying earlier in the show about how when he mixes genres, that's the John Carpenter I want to watch.
Kaylin, when you watch Ghost of Mars, think about the lines that the lead says, and think if you could hear Snake Plissken say them.
Interesting. Okay,
Ooh,
cool.
Escape from Mars.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice. Yeah.
Don't worry. It got real bad.
You're rooting him. We're like, imagine
Lockout.
the movie is better.
Lockout is a early 2000s sci-fi outer space prison break movie, which is basically Escape from Space, where a criminal is sent into this maximum security prison in space to rescue the president's daughter. Carpenter sued the company and won. So
okay, I see. So it's not a John Carpenter movie, but it's just the same conceit.
It's like they heard the Escape from Mars idea, and that was never made. So they did Lockout, and failed miserably, even though they had Guy Pearce.
Okay.
And yeah, Ghost of Mars came out, and well, I'll let
He
you
was
guys
like,
talk about
this
that.
is my idea. The thing is too about Outland is that it's basically just a 70s drug exploitation thing, but just on a space station. And I know it's not a John Carpenter movie, but it's in that same realm as like what I kind of thought about it is like, and this is what we talked about, how they probably wanted to make a new Star Wars franchise.
Yeah, everybody wants to make a new Star Wars.
Everybody wants a new Star Wars. And Sean Connery
doesn't
just kind
wanna
of
make a
hams
new
it up
Star
through the
Wars?
whole movie, and the special effects are pretty good, but the movie is dog shit, and it's another one of those things where it's the plot is just like this cop is estranged from his family and everybody's doing these fucking drugs that make you go insane. Like, come on. That's everything. Drugs, just these magic drugs.
Very common at the time to come up with a really interesting premise and be like, that's all we got, and an hour and a half commitment. So
plug into the 80s when the market was just like submerged in action films.
Yeah.
Everybody and their mom had a fucking 3-movie deal. The last thing that we sort of touched on was the match up where, you know, Snake gets trial by combated by the Duke. He has to fight a professional wrestler known as Ox Baker. I believe Ox Baker was only made a couple of appearances in WWF. But he was big in like the territory days. I recognized him. I thought it was Mad Dog Vachon. I had to look it up, but then
Shame on you.
I know, right? That's a mega wrestling fan. I got a bone up on my 70s fucking wrestlers like Haystacks Calhoun and Killer Carl Krupp. I really liked that part. That part was the most actiony part. They had a pretty good fight. They, you know, utilized the ropes. They utilized weapons. They had like a sword fight with nail bat. Ben, why don't you hit us with your final thoughts? And then we'll go around. What we usually do is I do a number rating. Kaylin does like a watch or don't watch, and then Kaylin and Steve do a sort of abstract, like. So if you want to just throw some pizzazz on the end and give it a rating, that's that's part of it.
Yeah. No, I think I'm the only person here that really likes this movie. But that's not to say it doesn't have problems. I acknowledge it's far from perfect. But I think the ideas that are there, what they did what they could with what they had to work with. And I'll give it a solid like 6 out of 10. Okay. It could have been great. It could have been a lot worse, but everybody came together and made, I wouldn't say one of my favorite movies, but a movie that stuck with me and I can watch it at any point and still really enjoy it. And you can't say that for a lot of movies anymore. So entertaining. Kurt Russell is magic. Like I said, I'll watch him in anything. I love every John Carpenter movie, even the really shitty ones, of which there are a few.
Halloween.
We can all agree.
No, that's so wrong.
It's funny that you rated it so like mid, but like the movie so much, because I've been doing these reviews for 3 years now, and people always criticize me with, you talk about how you don't like this movie and then rate it super high, or you talk about how you like this movie and then rate it super low. And I feel like your rating and your like review of the movie can be disconnected like that. And I think that's a big thing about this film. It's representative of a certain moment in film history, but it's going back and looking at it as a film from 1981. You're not always going to have the best time actually watching it, which is interesting because you watched it almost at like the perfect time, right? When you were 10, and then a few years later, it was, you know, the late 70s. And I'm just kidding. You're only a couple years older than me.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, and then when Steve watched it, he's a bit younger than me. It moves differently because then there's nothing to it. You didn't have the same things to relate it to that Steve did, etc.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, and that's why I, you know, hold dumbass movies like Ninja Turtles 2 so close to my heart.
You like that shit?
I love that fucking movie for what it is. because at the time there was nothing else like it.
Yeah, I think it really helped that I saw Escape from New York right before I saw Terminator 2.
Yeah, so then you went into Terminator 2 and you're that was your avatar for some people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Since I've already started to rant, I'm going to just go into my final thoughts. And I wrote it down, so I'll get through this quickly. It's a decent 80s action flick overall. It has some pacing issues, and scenes can drag on, but at least the visuals are interesting during these times. I definitely like Snake as a character. He's sort of Rambo and Batman combined. The movie is the perfect length, but due to some pacing issues, it could have been filled with more action. There's very little plot besides go save the president, and I wish the groups that inhabit the island were explored a little bit more. Yeah. This movie excels in the visual of the city itself. You feel the depth of the distances from the rooftops to the street level, and the sets are big and full of detail. I love all John Carpenter scores on top of this visual stuff that he's doing. John Carpenter is at his best when he's genre bending and using several genres to like tell a story. I think comparatively, movies
Jason,
like...
it's pronounced genre. What the
genre?
Fuck is wrong with you?
Genre. I think comparatively, movies like this and Halloween feel so stagnant to me, because you expect more from the man who made them Into the Mouth of Madness.
Yes.
And fucking Starman. Like, Starman had so many more moving parts.
Jason's right. He's so right. Jason's right. He's 100% right. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what to say now.
I'm not done.
Because Jason said everything properly.
Solid. Very, very, very solid 3 out of 5. Which is basically the same score that you gave it, Ben, essentially. But then, here's where I do what the boys like to do. I give it a trial by combat with Ox Baker, only it goes on for much longer and is a grueling battle with many weapons instead of just nail bats and trash can lids.
Fair.
Oh,
I do have to say, though, you seem to really appreciate a later period in Carpenter's career. So, like, stuff like Halloween, which is his first big movie, and then this really being his next major film. Still trying to, like, figure out what he's doing, find his style, and then going into...
I like Michael Myers so fucking much, and it hurt my heart to be bored through a horror movie, but then... I'm sorry, like,
no, that's
how
fine.
I felt. But the thing is I know Halloween 2 is just... John Carpenter's IP. I think, did he write it? I know he didn't direct it.
Produced,
It's exponentially a better movie in my opinion. It's got better kills. It's got more like things happening. It's in a hospital, which is just spooky, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't find a neighborhood particularly spooky compared to a hospital. That's just my
Suburbs
opinion.
are terrifying, man.
That's true. We all grew up in them.
Yeah, I didn't.
Well, I sort of did.
Oh, Kaylin.
Kaylin.
I think it's your turn.
Hey, did you see this one? Escape from New York, or Fuga de New York, as of, was that a French poster?
No, it was Spanish. Fuga. Or it might have been Italian. That's Italian.
No,
So on our Instagram page, we do a post, and I like to use posters from other in
international
languages, and it's Fuga de New York, and it's really cool. He's looking real jacked in it. It's a good poster,
and it kind of sounds like "fuck New York."
Fuga de New York. Maybe it is Italian, but a fuga I think means escape. If I was to venture to guess.
Just randomly use it in a sentence sometime. See what happens.
Go fuga yourself.
Go escape yourself. Ooh, that sounds deep. So anyway, you guys mentioned earlier, and same thing happened to me while I was watching it. I was like, "Oh, Carpenter nails it again!" Like that score, like once his score hits, like it's very signature of his sound, and it's very enjoyable to listen to. It's a nice little overdrop or whatever that goes along with the scenes of what's going on. Ben, you made a really good point, and I think that this
movie would have benefited from being more hit the ground and run in and keep going kind of thing, and maybe even make it a little bit shorter than an hour and a half. I think it was what was it, hour 36?
It was like 140. It was like 140 or might have even been 148 with credits.
Yeah. But I love John Carpenter's aesthetic. I've said it before. I really enjoy it. It feels tangible, feels like gritty and raw, and like you can feel it. Kurt Russell, though, yeah, like you said, he brings the magic. It was a straightforward movie. I don't want to say it was slow, but you guys mentioned about pacing. Maybe that's what it was. I wanted to enjoy this movie, and I tried. I don't not like it, but I had to try really hard and to not like drift off onto my phone or whatever, or kind of like start to lose interest a little bit. And but yes, I enjoyed aspects of it for sure. I'm probably going to watch it again a couple more times for sure. Overall, I would say at the very least it's a watch, and I give it a I heard you were dead.
Ben, thank you for coming on. We haven't had
thanks for having me on.
We haven't had any anybody who has other stuff to plug up until now.
I got one last thing. MPAA 26272.
Nice. We pulled up the MPAA rating list.
Okay.
Every movie that's ever been rated. No. We're gonna watch the first movie ever rated by the MPAA at some point. Do you have anything that you want to plug? I think that you do.
Yeah, basically just a podcast I do with Sandro at BS Bargain Bin. We're on basically all podcast sites, YouTube at BS Bargain Bin, Twitter.
What's the BS stand for?
Originally, it was going to be the Bullshit Bargain Bin. We thought that might kind of limit our reach. So we shortened it to BS and then realized I'm Ben, he's Sandro, BS. It just works.
Nice. That's wicked.
Yeah. So, even our website, bsbargainbin.com. People have been asking for merch, so now you can get t-shirts, hats, and all that stuff.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it's a lot of fun. We do a weekly show, comes out Thursdays. Like I said, last week we did Tango and Cash. And we've got a guest coming up on an episode soon where we'll be talking about Stay Tuned.
Oh, we talked about that.
Oh, Who's the guest, Ben?
They may or may not have a beard.
That's everybody that you're looking at.
I think it's Jason, maybe.
It's Kurt Russell.
Oh, God.
Damn it.
Yeah, no, Jason's going to come on. We'll have a fun time.
Sandro in the chat, he's been watching all night here, and he says, new episode in an hour, so it looks like you guys have an episode actually going up tonight as well.
My Cousin Vinny,
excellent, which is a great flick. So Ben,
I've never been.
Go and watch it on all major platforms. I don't know. It's really weird.
Probably.
Every movie I want to watch, I have to fucking sail the high seas for, it seems like. At any rate,
Not if you already own it.
Not if you're Ben and Kaylin and have a fucking look at Ben's. You can see Ben's collection in the background there.
Oh, you must have a huge collection from having worked at like HMV or whatever, right?
Yeah. My movies are stored in 3 different houses.
Nah.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Next week we're gonna continue the party. We're gonna watch Escape from LA. And here's another little thing we do. I'm gonna just say you can participate if you want. If you don't want to, you don't have to.
Also, you don't need to.
You can. But for Kaylin and Steven, I'm Jason.
What about Ben?
For Kaylin and Steven and Ben, I'm Jason.
I'm Steven, and I'm also Kaylin, and I'm Ben too.
What about Jason?
Yeah, he already did it.
Sometimes.
For Ben, Steven, and Jason, I'm Kellen.
Ben, do you want to try?
No.
Okay. And I have to ask the question that everybody asks each and every week, and that is, hey, did you see this one?
Hey, did you see this one? Hey,
Did you see this one?
Hey, did you see this? Ben, you got to give us a hey, did you see this one? Or else it never ends.
Hey, did you see this one?
Oh, that's a good one. Hey, did you see Steve's armpit? This is my favorite part of the episode.
This is your favorite part of the episode because we get to do the thing where Kalen makes the same joke every week. He says, "Is this the part like on a talk show where the people are talking and you can't hear them, but you can hear us?" See, that's the problem with the conceit of this bit.
It's a great bit, though.
It's like turning the tables.
Bits.
It's like flipping the thing over.
Flipping.
Yeah, you
over?
have to flip it over sometimes.